Okay, this is my World War I Trench Warfare Paper Slides video by Raven Nicholson. What was trench warfare? Trench warfare was a form of combat where two or more opposing forces fought each other from trenches rather than an open field. This is one of the German trenches, and they've got their men in there shooting with some rifles. Trench warfare origin. Trench warfare dates back to a 17th century military strategy. It was created for attacking enemy fortresses. Why was trench warfare needed? During the Civil War, rifles and cannons became very accurate, and fighting on flat ground was a waste of men. To save more lives, they dug trenches. They dug over 53 miles of trenches at the Battle of Petersburg alone. How did the trench system work? Okay, back here you have the long-range artillery placed about 10 kilometers behind the front lines. Then you have the reserve trench. It's like the last resort. Then you have concrete blockhouse for a machine gun. Then you have the support trench with deep dugouts for protection. Then you have the front line trench with dugouts to provide minimal, like a little bit of protection. Then you have barbed wire meters all right there, and then no man's land. It's called that because if you go there you're probably gonna die. Then they had airplanes that flew around and warned off the attackers and dropped bombs and stuff. Trench life. Life in a trench was horrific. When it rained, the trenches got really muddy and attracted mosquitoes and other insects. Dead bodies were often buried in the sides of trenches. There were dead bodies all over the ground right outside the trench. There were rats that would eat dead carcasses and steal the soldiers' food. Trench life continued. The soldiers often experienced extreme boredom. This may sound silly, but it's true. They spent a large amount of time sitting in the trench scared for their lives. That is the author of Lord of the Rings, and he wrote those while he was in the trenches. The Germans' trenches. The Germans' trenches were the most elaborate trenches of them all. The Germans spent months planning and digging these trenches. The French and British didn't build such elaborate trenches because they didn't expect to be there very long. Boy, were they wrong. What the? Dogs played a role in the trench warfare? Yes, dogs did play a role in trench warfare. The dogs delivered supplies and messages to the troops. They also carried out ropes to wounded soldiers so they could be pulled to safety. Trench warfare created a fashion item. During World War I, the British Army hired Burberry to design a coat to keep officers warm and dry in the trenches. The coat had belt loops that were designed to be used as grenade hooks and big pockets to hold everything else. These coats are commonly known as trench coats. And last but not least, trench warfare images. These are some images I found online. It's a general writing a letter, naval battleships, aircrafts, fighting in the city, men fighting in trenches, and you've got artillery. Alright, that was my project. Thank you, Coach Morales. Please give me a 100.